All right, we are here, the last conversion, going from fraction 2%. Fraction to decimal from the beginning. When in doubt, divide it out. Decimal to fraction. Whatever's to the left's your whole, whatever's to the right's your numerator. Over some power of 10. Decimal 2%, you go 2 place values to the right. Percent to decimal, you go 2 to the left. Last one we did, percent to fraction. Take your numerator, put it on top. Percent means per 100 divided by 100, and then look to reduce. Okay. Now, last but not least, fraction 2%. So fraction 2%, really it's a combination of going from fraction to decimal, when it down, divide it out, and then going from decimal to a percent, which is just going to place values to the right. So it's kind of like taking a step into decimalville, fraction to decimal, and then going from decimal to percent. So it's a combination of two conversions that we already know how to do, and all you have to do is go take your fraction, divide it out, and then swing your decimal to place values to the right, and that'll get you from a fraction to a percent. Okay. Now the other thing that you could possibly do is, if you can get your denominator to 100, so many per 100 is so many percent, then take whatever is your numerator and put it in front of a percentage sign, right? That's all it takes. And again, that's kind of our opposite of our last conversion, percent to fraction. You just get your denominator to 100, you got so many per 100, you got so many percent. Okay. But not every number gets you to 100 evenly, so it's important to understand how to do this process here. Okay, so let's try one. Again, even a fraction like 1/4, 1/4. If you already know the decimal, that's great, which you should. 1/4. If you don't, you can build a house, top in, bottom out. 4 into 1, 0 times on the back end. An invisible point, 0. 4 into 10, 2 times, that's 8. Remainder 2. Another 0, we get 20. 4 into 25 times, raise your decimal up through the roof. Your answer is 25 hundredths. Okay, now don't just put 0.25%. After we have our decimal, we still have to convert that decimal to a percent, because that is our end goal in this conversion. So from where it is, we swing 2 place values to the right. 25 hundredths, 25 per 100, 25%. Okay, so now we have the equivalent fraction with the equivalent decimal and the equivalent equal percent, right? So we got all three of them in one swoop right there. Now, like I said, the other thing that you can do, and in this case we can, if we can get our denominator to 100 with the factor, same thing, right? It's just like a proportion. Anything you do the bottom, you got to do the top. So if we can get to 100 with that factor, which we can, multiply by 25, do the same thing to the top. 1 times 25, 25. 25 per 100, 25 per cent. All right? So let's try a couple more examples. And both are good strategies. It just kind of depends on your situation, right? Again, let's go 2/5. Okay, now some of these you should automatically know. And if you look at that fraction wall, they have a bunch of these already established for you, and you should be able to see those. But again, you should know your thirds, your halves, your fourths, your fifths, your eighths, ninths, and tenths. But even if you don't, there is a way. So don't be too sad about that. Now, I know my decimal equivalent, and again, it's going to be 4/10, right? 2/5. Again, if you can get your denominator one of those powers of 10, is times 2, 4/10. So I got a 4 in my 10th place value. Now, if I go 2 place values to the right, 1, 2. And again, not 4%, 40 hundredths, 40 per 100, 40%, right? So These are all the equivalent value. They tell you the same thing in a different way, right? It's a different format. So, same value. Value doesn't change, just the way that we write it and represent it, okay? Now, the other thing that you could do is, like I said, yeah, we can get from 5 to 100 with a factor multiplied by 20. Do the same thing to the top. 2 times 20, 40 per 100, which equals 40%. All right. Now, even if you have something like this, let's say we have the mixed number here, 1 and let's just go with 20 for 25ths, okay? All right, now I got one whole, and I already know that one whole is 100%, right? So I have 100% plus an extra part, right? So I got a whole of 1, I got a part of 24 25ths. Now, you can do a couple things with this. First of all, if I already know I got one whole, that's 100 plus whatever this extra percentage is. And those of you that do know, you can get from 25 to 100. Multiply by 4, same thing at the top, multiply by 4. And again, that's just going to be 4 less than 100. 1 less, and then I have 4 ones is going to be 4 less than 100, which is 96. Now, don't just say 96% because we still have that whole number 1 out in front. So altogether, I have 1 and 96 hundredths, and 100 100ths is one whole. So 100 plus 96 is 196%. Okay. Now, of course, you could divide it out and do all those different things. 24 in, 25 out. Do all that. Or you could turn it into an improper fraction. That would also work if you do that here. Again, denominator times your whole plus your numerator. 100 times 1 is 100 plus 96 is 196 per 100. 196%. Okay. All right, so there's a couple of them. Let me just do one more. And again, in this case, we have something like 7/8. All right, now 7/8 doesn't go into 100, and that is okay. Let's divide it to get our decimal. First move, get our decimal. 7 goes into, or 8 goes into 7. Sorry, 0 times, 0.0 on the back. 8 goes into 70. 8 times, that's a 64. And again, I love doing short division, but we won't get into that right now. That's a 6, so we're going to keep it moving. And again, you keep going until you have a repeating remainder, or if it stops, right? That's really what we want to go to. And we don't want to go too far because if you have one of those irrational numbers, you know, we're going to round it to the nearest percent, okay? So anyways, 8 into 60, that's 7 times, that's 56. It's a 4, that's a 0. 8 into 45 times, raise your decimal up through the roof. All right, now the decimal equivalent is 875 thousandths. Now that is not 875%. Again, remember, we're going 2 place values to the right from here, and that is 87.5%. Okay, now if we were to round that to the nearest whole number, and again, rounding is an important skill to have. We look at our ones place value. Okay, when you round, there's only 2 possible options for this answer. It's either closer to 87 or the next one up would be 88. Okay, those are my only 2 possible answers. I know a lot of people throw in a bunch of different numbers, but the nearest percent is either 87 or 88. Now, what determines that is the number directly behind it. So the number directly behind the place value that you're rounding to, if it's 5 or more, you're going to round up to the next value. Okay, if it's less than 5, 4 less is to the floor. All right, so in this case, that 5 does round up, and when we do that, it rounds to 88%. So if you're getting to the nearest percent, that would be at 88%, right? The actual value is 87 5/10, 87.5%. But again, 875 thousandths, 7/8 87.5% tell you the same thing in a different way. Okay?